Today we are going to discuss about profit analysis. This is the last chapter as far as our syllabus is concerned, but it is important topic. Why? Because every firm is trying to maximize the profit only. First, we should know what we try to mean by profit. Profit is the difference between revenue and cost. Either you have to increase the revenue or reduce the cost. In this way, we can maximize the profit. But not only the revenue and cost, but also there are certain other things like what type of production function that we are having, whether we are making a short run decision or long run decision, whether we are going to take any permanent decision or ad hoc decision. So that decision only decides your level of profit. That is why there are different techniques. One of the important technique is called break-even analysis. In this break-even analysis, the major factor revenue and cost is involved. In that, there are several concepts are there like break-even point, break-even chart, safety margin, targeted profit, and break-even quantity. So these are some of the terms involved in break-even analysis. The main thing is why we have to apply this particular break-even analysis is as a manager you have to take decision. Based on that decision only your level of success will be decided. For example, if you want to take a particular decision related with investment, then you should know what are all the appraisal applicable for investment analysis, how to handle the labor union, and what are all the industrial approval required for that particular business. So these things not only involve with the decision alone, but also some man hours, money factor, political factor, social factor, it will involve. So there are many factors which connect related to the profit. But we are considering only cost and revenue in break even, but not only that, there are price factor will be there, there will be a goodwill, and there will be some political influence, and there will be a market fluctuation. All these things should be handled properly. For that, first we should know where we can get the break even in the sense when the revenue will become equal to the cost and revenue must be equal. What is that particular point? So uh, we have to study about this particular thing. We will study one by one. First, let me start with the break-even point. Actually, this break-even point we used to call it as no profit, no loss point. At that particular level, the revenue equal to cost, so there is no profit, there is no loss also. But if you see different books, there will be different definition for this. Different definitions say the term for the break even will be net income or profit is zero. What to say? No profit, no loss point, zero income point, equal cost point, or equal revenue point. Like that, they will describe this break even and a point in different in their own view. It's nothing but when income expenditure point means nothing but break even point. No profit, no loss point, break even point. Cost and revenue point, break even point. Whether profit equal to loss, then it is break even point. When it will be when both are zero, then it is break even. So people try to confuse you by using different terms. So only thing is revenue equal to cost. That is total revenue equal to total cost. Then it is called break-even point. It may be termed as a zero income point, or it may be termed as revenue point or expenditure point. Whichever point it is, they are trying to mean only no profit, no loss point. So how it can be represented? Either you can use graphical method or you can use arithmetical method. Uh, Most of the time they will ask the graphical method. Graphical method, when you represent the break even point in a graph, then it's nothing but break even chart. Here in this particular graph, the price and output are measured in the vertical axis and horizontal axis, and we finding a particular point. At that point, the profit and loss are zero because the total revenue equal to total cost. That particular diagram we used to call it as break-even chart. We may say break-even chart refers the graphical representation of break-even point, including both revenue function and cost function. So, what is a next basic point in break-even analysis is called safety margin. Even though we know what is break-even point is, there are some manager or some firm, they want to play safely. For that, they will have some margin for the profit. So for that, some percentage of profit will be included in while measuring the no profit no loss point. The formula for safety margin is sales minus BEP divided by sales into 100. That is, this is sales minus BEP nothing but the revenue minus no profit no loss point divided by sales equal to 100. So profit by sales into 100, we used to call it as safety margin, but we should not say profit, we should say sales minus BEP divided by sales into 100. This is a formula for safety margin. Why people are doing this particular thing? Because it helps the firm to avoid loss position, because people are not ready to accept the loss. So some minimum percentage of profit should be there. At least there should not be any loss. Minimum the revenue may be equal to cost, that level. At least 2 to 3% of profit should be there. For that they are playing safely. For that they are using this particular formula, sales minus BEP divided by sales into 100. Here BEP is nothing but break even point. One more method is there called targeted profit. Actual formula for BEP is fixed cost divided by contribution margin. Okay. But in the targeted profit, they will fix, if I'm doing this business, if monthly I need this much money. So that particular value will be added as a fixed cost. So formula for targeted profit will be fixed cost plus targeted profit by contribution margin. Here the contribution margin is nothing but the difference between the price and the variable cost per unit. V bar we used to call it. So there are three possible section A question. What is break-even point? So you have to mention 4 or 5 point. Break even total revenue equal to total cost, no profit, no loss point. When revenue equal to cost, then it is break even. Revenue point or cost point or expenditure point or income point, all these things mentioning only this particular break even point. This is one of the tool in the profit analysis. This is the answer that you should write. What is break even point? Then safety margin means some firm don't want to end up in loss. So in order to avoid the loss position, they change the break-even point formula as sales minus BB sales into 100. That particular margin will be fixed while calculating the break-even. The third possible question is what is targeted profit? Most of the firm uses the targeted profit technique. Why? Because the expected level of profit is based on the profit volume ratio. This profit volume ratio is nothing but contribution margin, selling price minus variable cost per unit. So the formula to calculate the target sales volume is nothing but FC plus targeted profit divided by contribution. That is fixed cost plus targeted profit divided by selling price minus variable cost per unit or contribution margin per unit. This is a technical term for difference between selling price and variable cost per unit. Now, coming to the actual part of the answer. First, let me give the formula for break-even quantity. It's nothing but FC divided by P minus V bar. What is FC? Fixed cost. What is P? Selling price. And V bar is variable cost per unit. This is a formula to calculate the break-even quantity. How much will be the output in order to reach the revenue which will equalize the cost. So that quantity you used to call it as break-even quantity. I will repeat again. It is the level of output in which the revenue will reach the total cost. After this particular level, if you produce more, then it will become profit. Less than you produce it, it will become loss. So the formula is fixed cost divided by selling price minus variable cost per unit. FC divided by P minus V bar. So now I'm going to prove first one is arithmetically and second one is graphically. If you represent graphically, it is nothing but break-even chart. Now we'll go for the arithmetic method first, and then we'll go for the. So how to prove break-even quantity? You give C divided by P minus V bar. Now consider at break-even point, that is no profit, no loss point. What is the condition for that? The total revenue must be equal to total cost. Am I right? So TR equal to TC. What is TR? Total revenue is nothing but if you multiply the price with the quantity, then we can get the total revenue. That is the sales value. When you multiply the total quantity with the price, then we can get the total revenue. This is the revenue side. Coming to the cost side, add the fixed cost with the variable cost incurred, FC plus VC. Here P is the price, Q is the break-even sales, and fixed cost, FC is fixed cost, and VC is a variable cost. Now make that P into Q equal to FC plus VC is equation 1. Divide that equation with Q, that is the quantity. Then how that particular equation will be? P equal to FC divided by Q into V bar. That is VC divided by Q is nothing but V bar, variable cost per unit. Price equal to fixed cost divided by quantity plus V bar, variable cost per unit. When we divide the variable cost with the quantity, we can get the variable cost per unit. Okay. Then that particular second equation, we are interchanging that V bar from right hand side to left hand side. So here the plus symbol, when we move to the left hand side, it will become minus. P minus V bar equal to FC divided by Q. Am I right? Now what you are doing, you just multiply with the Q again. So Q into P minus V bar, which is equal to, in this side, Q get cancelled FC. So keep the Q as it is and take that P minus V bar to the right hand side. Q equal to FC divided by P minus V bar. This is the formula we can easily derive from manager economics or profit planning technique. This is the arithmetic method of deriving the formula. Now let us move to the graphical method. So what we are doing, just measure the output in the horizontal axis, revenue and cost in the vertical axis. If you draw a 45-degree line, then it is nothing but total revenue. I'm tentatively saying. Why? Because in the vertical side is price and cost is there. In the horizontal, the quantity is there. Price into quantity will become the total revenue. Okay, so the TR curve is nothing but just draw 145-degree line. Then how to draw the TC? We already studied in the law of variable proportion. First, we should add the fixed cost and variable cost. So fixed cost is nothing but above the zero level. If you start somewhere, then that level is called variable. I will show in the cursor. Have you seen the cursor? This level. This is called fixed cost. So above the zero level, you start the total cost. That particular line represents the variable cost. When we add these two, then it will become total cost. The point at which the TC is intersecting the TR is break-even point. At that level, OM level, it is break-even quantity. So beyond the OM level, it is a profit zone. That is why it is given in green color, profit. If you produce less than this particular level, it is lost. So that OM level of output is nothing but break-even quantity. For that, you can give some numerical value if needed. But you are going to answer for 8 marks only. If you start giving, suppose in the previous case study will be there, 20 marks will be there. So by that time, you have to give some value. There will be a price of 10 rupees per unit and variable cost is 7 rupees or 5 rupees. So you have to make some numerical value. Then only you can get more mark. Now the total maximum mark is 8 marks only. So when you represent arithmetically and diagrammatically, this is enough. There is no need to give numerical value. but for your understanding, you can go through it. So when they ask in section B, first write what is BEP, then formula, then arithmetic representation, and then graphical representation. Finally, conclude that these are the area that we are using this profit planning technique, that is break-even analysis. TR minus TC equal to profit. When TC is more, then it will become loss. If you conclude like this, then this will do. If you have any doubt, you can ask me now.